Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Connect HR Hangouts. It's your favorite sizzling host, Babi Mawela. We are back with episode 3 of season 2, and we're excited to have you here. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for your loyalty. And please don't forget to click on the like button, comment, as well as the share button. And please click on the little bell in the corner so that every time we upload a new episode, you get notifications. That was a long intro, hey?
That was actually quite short and sweet.
Thank you. Thank you. And in studio today, we've got Unathi Kildase. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic today. How are you?
I'm great. I think it's been so, like, you had to be here today because it has been such a long time trying to get you here. So it's your time to shine. Please introduce yourself. Who is Unathi? And where is she now?
So I'm Unathi Kildase. I come from the Eastern Cape. I was born in Port Elizabeth. I was raised in East London. And I have been living in Johannesburg and some random parts of the world every now and again for the last 19 or so years.
Okay.
I'm a mom of one. I love to read. I am an international supply chain professional and also a homebody. So that's just the general of who I am as a person as well.
I love that. So you mentioned that you're in supply chain.
Yes.
How did you get into that?
By accident.
Yeah.
So it was definitely not part of the plan. I wanted to be a pilot, but my eyesight was terrible. So the eye test didn't exactly work out for me. So I ended up in a supply chain class. I was actually looking for mathematics.
Hectic.
And I thought logistics, logical, I'd get there, and I never did. But it was just so engaging at the time that I just never left. And 20 years later, here I am still there. I question my decisions every now and again, but it's really a fun, loving space, and it's changed my life.
I love that for you. And why did you want to be a pilot? I'm actually quite interested in that.
Firstly, I had never really seen a woman pilot. And secondly, there was just something about the sky that was so peaceful. And because I loved the technical aspect of it, and I was always the child who was sitting in the front of the class when it came to maths and science. So anything related to how to put puzzle pieces together really just made sense to me. So the combination of those two things and the uniform was something I really just wanted to do. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So we've been stalking you for some time. And we see, like, you've grown so much as a professional. Yeah. And I'd like you to please take us through your journey as a professional.
You know, I had this picture of how my journey was going to set out. I had stars in my eyes. I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and none of it worked out the way that I wanted it to. So when I started, like I said, I didn't really mean to get into logistics. But as soon as I started, I realized how much I loved it. But even then, it was from the perspective of I wanted to work at VW because I was in Port Elizabeth. So I was going to become a buyer for VW. I was going to get that rented car. I was going to have a lot of money. Yeah. And because it was so close to Utenig, they were the popular it people at the time. So that was the target. And then I got to my 3rd year and I didn't have a job yet. So I panicked and I applied for my bachelor's at the time. And my lecturer actually recommended me to this thing called freight forwarding. I had no idea what it was, but I thought I don't have a job. I was raised by a single parent and I thought I can't afford to not have a job. And so I applied for my bachelor's or my honors at the time, and I applied for a job and I got both.
Sure.
So I ended up studying and working. But essentially I had to start from scratch because freight forwarding wasn't a subject that we had done in school. Yeah. And it opened up my eyes to the world of international trade and transport, customs clearance. And it was very difficult transitioning from what I thought logistics was and the dreams that I had had to where I found myself from a work perspective. And then still having to study as well and be in school was something quite of an adventure.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, it changed my life because that's where I also got to travel. So for me, I've always been curious.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to learn new things. I also have the attention span of a goldfish. So I wanted to grow and to learn. So when I started in air freight, which is very fast paced. And I started in hazardous goods. So I moved everything from cremated bodies to explosives to, the things that go in the cargo section of a plane would probably scare anyone, but it just fascinated me. So I then, after I finished my bachelor's while I was working for the company I worked for at the time, I then pursued an actual qualification in freight forwarding.
Okay.
And then I moved to sea freight and I fell in love with the other modes of transport as well. And school for me has always been a passion of my mom. She's always loved reading to me, telling me stories. And I think that's where my love of knowledge came from, because she always said that that's something that no one can take away from me.
Yeah.
So if there was a company course, if there was a program, I grabbed it. And that's how I also got to travel. So during my time in the companies that I've worked for, I've gotten to travel. I mean, I've been really fortunate. I've gotten to go to Kenya. I've gotten to go to Dubai, to the US, to the UK, to Germany, to Brazil. I've seen so many places that I don't think I would have seen had I not done that. And I think it kept up my passion for it as well. But also because supply chain is so broad. And because I got the opportunity to move around so much in the different transport modes, that's how I also landed up in Johannesburg. It was growing into an opportunity to look at trade. Why do countries trade with each other? How do you set up those trades and so on? And then I ended up looking after those trades for the UK and for the US. And then I moved up to Johannesburg. So that's kind of how my career transitioned and how I grew. Again, it was tough. At the time that I moved up to Joburg, I just had my daughter. So I bundled her up and we came up to Johannesburg. I didn't know anything about Johannesburg. I'd never been here. And then I got here and everyone had an MBA. And I thought maybe it was on sale somewhere and everybody got it at a discount. So I thought, I don't know what this thing is, but every job I want to apply for, everyone has an MBA. It's optional, but not really. So then I started pursuing my MBA and I grossly underestimated how much work it was going to be. But it's never, ever gotten me into the wrong space. And I think that's just how things have happened. I'm now, hopefully at the end of this year, I'll be finishing my doctorate. It's my last year.
Doctor.
It's my last year. And I think the one part of myself that I have discovered is that education should be free for as many people as possible. And not enough of us South Africans, not just, and it's not based on gender or anything related to, the kind of position a person is in. But we don't write enough from an academic level from a South African context. And it's great to be called doctor, but it's really also because you can't really write and publish when you're not. So that's really one of the biggest things that I hope to achieve, in that I want to write and publish for free. Whether people agree with what I'm saying or not, that's wonderful, as long as you do something about it.
Sure. Amazing. And so the topic today, by the way, is career development. And I just felt that you are the right person to have this chat with, considering that also you are a reader. And so I want to, before we actually get or delve deeper in our conversation today, your hobby when it comes to reading. I don't even think it's a hobby for you anymore. What is it about reading that you love so much?
It's a little bit of an obsession. Some people will say it's unhealthy, but I don't. Oh, I beg to differ. So I was very shy. And I think, believe it or not, I'm not an extrovert.
I believe it.
It takes a lot of energy to get out there and to interact. But I do enjoy the company of people. But from a very young age, I was very shy. So for me, reading was an escape into this wonderful world of nothingness and everything at the same time. So I used to read books by Roald Dahl, Stephen King, and John Grisham was another favorite of mine. I used to borrow books from the library. I think I was one of the only kids in primary school that had a blazer pocket that was torn because I used to stuff books in my pockets. So it's never really stopped. And what I realized was my comprehension skills in writing in school greatly improved from that. And even as I learned and I studied and I communicated with people as well, I found that the way in which I was able to relate to them was much better. And I just love the smell of a book. And now I have so many that I really can't not love it because they're everywhere in the house. So that's how.
And how, in your opinion, how does reading shape one as a professional? And do you feel that it's one of the main factors that contribute to career growth?
I think it's one of them. I think the world is maybe very set on that you can only be educated by having a formal education. But not everybody gets that opportunity, unfortunately. And for some people, it takes a little bit longer. I mean, even discovering what you really want to do from a career perspective takes a while. And sometimes you're in it and then you realize that that's not what you want to do. And I think for me, read anything because it broadens your curiosity. And that's the most important thing. Because a lot of the time, as you grow and as you change, you won't always know what you want. But hopefully you'll get to kind of have a process of elimination of what you don't want. And reading helps you to want to have more knowledge. And that's the only way that you can learn things. The most important thing is that you're learning something. And at work, I think, as a professional, communication is vital because you can be the smartest person in the room. You can have 10 doctorates, but you can also be the worst communicator.
100%.
Because what it is that you're trying to do at work, it's not about the story that you think is fantastic, but do other people understand and are they accepting of what it is that you're wanting to tell them? And I think reading does that because you get to connect with people you don't know and you've never met. How they write, how they imagine. And I don't think anything can quite replace that. Apart, obviously, from having interactions with real people, but it does bridge the gap.
Sure. And I don't know, what in terms of career development, right? What do you think are the key... What is the key metrics that you feel contribute to a successful career?
Let go of the perfect picture. Just let it go.
Bing.
Nothing, I think, will look exactly the way that we want it to when we start. And I think we beat ourselves up so much. There's so much pressure now about... by this age, you must look like this, you must feel like this, you must be here because so-and-so is there. But all of us every day are still discovering ourselves. And when you do, life will test you for the next step that you have to take. So I think when it comes to your career, you must remember that number one, it's not a straight line. The road is filled with curves. Sometimes you will move back. It will be frustrating. You will cry. You will have setbacks. But if there's one skill that I have learned over time that hasn't failed me yet is every time something happens in my life, or every opportunity that comes my way, some of them I never feel like I'm ready for. But I take the leap because I want to learn. And number two, I know that I'm not there because it's a mistake. There's always a reason why you are somewhere. So be present with where you are and give it your best as well. The one thing I think we also miss when it comes to career growth is, let's say you end up in a position or a division or a company that is not necessarily the one you wanted to be in. It doesn't mean that you must now give 50%. Remember that everything that you do and everywhere that you are, your name is there. All of the people that supported you, all of the people that got you there, you carry them on your shoulders. Make sure that whatever impression you leave the best one. So that when you walk away, you know that you've given your best, because your opportunity could be watching you from that place.
True.
So that for me has been, I think, the biggest lesson. I'm still learning it even now.
Sure. And what are your thoughts on mentorship as a professional? Do you recommend one having a mentor, or is it too tedious? What are your views on mentorship?
You know, if we knew everything, we wouldn't need mentors.
Yeah, that's very true.
And it would be wonderful to only understand ourselves from our perspectives. But we know that you can't look at yourself in a two-dimensional manner in that way. So I do believe that you need a mentor when it comes to your professional life. So your actual work. But then you also need a mentor or a life coach for yourself as a person and how you are growing. Because those are two different things on your performance at work and who you are as a person and how you're growing and how you're changing. So absolutely yes. And also don't always pick the person that is the most obvious or the person that you like. Some of my mentors have been people that were outwardly extremely difficult people that a lot of people didn't relate to. But I learned so many good things from them. I stalked them a little bit. But but I learned some of the most valuable lessons from those people. And I've kept those relationships even until today. And you can learn something from everyone. That's the other thing. We won't always learn things from the people that we would like to learn things from.
True.
And also don't put pressure on your mentors. No one is perfect. Everyone is human. And you must go and learn what you need to learn from your mentor. But remember that they are also human and give them that opportunity to be real as well.
Sure. Okay. Now I'm loving the chat so far. Let's just take 2 minutes for our ad break and then we'll come back.
Okay. Connect HR, the preferred HR software for skills development agencies. Payslips and payroll reports being our primary feature. Our other features include leave management, expense manager, document library, and company insights. Expense manager feature. Have an overview of all your claims that you submitted from the first week of the year to the last week of the year. You can list all your claims that you submitted, and this is how you submit a claim. First, you upload the receipt or the invoice of a claim. Secondly, you label your claim. Third, you punch in the correct amount of your claim and should reconcile with your receipt or your invoice. Then you name or you describe your claim. Punch in the date of your claim that it took place, then select the category in which your claim falls under. Choose the relevant claim admin, and then you choose your creditor. This is optional, and then you save your expense. Recurring payments. You can list all your recurring payments, schedule a payment, add a title of your recurring payment, punch in the amount, and select the frequency of your recurring payment. Add a description and select the first payment run. Punch in the number of payments and leave blank for infinite times. Save your scheduled recurring payment. Connect HR, seamless solutions for our training partners.
Okay, so welcome back to part 2 of the episode. And we're still with Unathi. She's sharing her knowledge and opinions on the topic career development. So I want to deviate a little bit, and I want to understand that as a young Black woman, how do you cope with such a fast-paced environment, and what advice would you give to people who are in the similar path as you?
I think that you need to be committed to the path you choose. You're not going to wake up every day feeling like you want to go. And I know it's a bit of a cliche, but you have to find your why. And it won't always be in the obvious, by the way of this is your passion, or not everything you do is going to be your passion. And I think we're so hard on ourselves because we want that story of that one person where their career was their whole lives and everything was magical. It's okay if it's not all like that. As you peel the layers of your career, you do away with the little things that you don't like, and you slowly transition to areas where you're like, okay, this is the area that I like. For instance, I had a particular time in my career where I was handling sea freight.
Okay.
It was very slow for me. It wasn't my favorite, but I stayed for a couple of years and I learned what I wanted to learn out of it. And I migrated out of it into another area that I liked. But I picked the different bits and pieces of what I really enjoyed in that space. So I think that would be my one piece of advice. My second one would be during your career journey, also open your mind.
Yeah.
Because I think there are titles to certain careers and certain job functions, and we often get attracted to a title.
Yes.
And a title can be very deceiving in relation to what you do every day. And I think for me, the advice would be, especially when you start, it's too late for us to go back now and start again. But when you start as well, don't be so attracted to, oh my gosh, I see an accountant, I'm going to earn 90,000 Rand a month. And it's great if you love numbers, but also shadow people, even if it's for a day or a week, that do that job every single day, because you're going to be doing that job every single day, And that's a lifetime of, sometimes it'll be fun, sometimes it'll be stress. And that's where I think you need to be realistic about it as well, about your career. And where you don't have the skill, you can learn it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we also are in times where you need 10 years of experience when you haven't even started. And we shortchange ourselves because we think, I have to be absolutely 100% good enough before I want to jump to the next step.
Yeah.
You are never going to know everything. You're never going to know all of the systems, all of the advanced Excels before you apply for a position.
Yeah.
Look for the skills that they want, the most critical ones, and then know how to sell yourself and learn along the way. But don't pass up opportunities because you don't fit a profile perfectly. Your KFC burger doesn't look like like what you see in the advert when it comes, but you'll still eat it and you'll still love it because you're looking for the taste. So sometimes think about things that way as well.
Sure. And okay, now I want to loosen up a little bit as well. What is the highlight of your career so far?
The travel. I can't tell you how much. I think it's closed a little bit of the gap of me having wanted to fly when I started.
Yeah.
So I'm never nervous or bored when they say you have to travel for work. I'm always the first one to say, when are we flying? So, and the travel has not always been just about work only. I got to travel with a study group a couple of years ago when we were in the US, and we got to go to the UN buildings, and I actually got to sit there where they do the negotiations.
Yeah.
And when we went to Brazil, I got to go to the statue of the statue of Jesus Christ right at the top, and I've gotten to work with so many different people along the years. And I've realized that we think everyone is different because the languages are different, the cultures are different.
Yeah.
But by day number 3, all of us realized that we had the same sense of humor.
Yeah.
We all wanted to work as hard. We were all so similar. So for me, it's definitely been the travel.
Sure. I'm jealous, but okay. One day we'll get there.
Yeah.
And so this is the part of our episode where we do a mental health check-in. And I want to know from you, obviously everyone goes through different mental health experiences. And because your job is, I would like to believe, is very demanding and fast-paced, how do you cope with your mental health from time to time? What do you do to survive?
Yeah. Oh, I think this subject is one that we have just brushed under the carpet. And I don't know when we did it. Because everything is about the glossy picture and the perfection. And the one thing that I think my mother taught me and some of my mentors taught me over time is you must never look like your problems. That was always the thing in the back of my head. You must never look like how you feel.
Yeah.
But I don't always feel okay. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's overwhelming. There are times even now where I feel like I have no idea what I'm doing today. My brain, gets left behind at home. But then there are those same amount and more moments where I feel like I've got this. And on those days when I have that, I hold on to it for dear life.
Yeah.
And I bask in it because I know that the days where I'm not feeling so great will come. And they come.
Yeah.
And they're not going to stop. I can tell you that I love to run. I love to read.
Yes.
I'm not very much of a big social creature. I'm trying. I really am.
Yeah.
But, and I watch cartoons with my daughter. I love to laugh. I have a very unfiltered sense of humor. So that helps a lot. But sometimes nothing fixes a bad day.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can have the best day, but you just emotionally feel like you just woke up and your spirit is just not there. Sometimes things happen and then you're just not okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll just cry. And then I'll go to sleep, I'll wake up, I'll wash my face, I will put on something nice, and then I'll try again.
Sure. I love that. And so we've changed things a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Where you get to ask the host a question.
Oh,
I
okay.
know. So what would your question be to me?
I think that, people always look at the world that you're in, the interviewing of people. They never see the background work behind it. They only see you sitting here and they think, oh, I want to be like her. I want to be on camera. I want to do this. And they think that it's always just about this time that you're here. What does it take, or what has it taken for you to be here? And what's the realistic advice you'd give to someone who wants to be in the same space?
Sure. Firstly, the advice would be you need to love what you do. And this was something very new to me. It was a task that just started. We just had to start. And I think one thing that has kept me going is meeting different people every week. And I think that has contributed a lot to my growth and. But it takes a lot to get the final piece, to get the episode, because you have to organize the equipment. You have to make sure everyone is okay. Like, you come last.
Yeah.
But what helps a lot is, I think, the interactions, because I take for granted how much I need to learn as well. And that's why we have this platform. So yeah, it has taken a lot from me, but in a very good way, in the sense that I needed it to happen at that time. Yeah. And that's my philosophy, my philosophical moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you, Unathi. I know you had so much to do, but we finally got you here, and I really, really appreciate your time.
No, I think this was the best part of my week. We are a combination of everyone we meet. So
True.
I always appreciate everyone who has contributed to a part of my life, and you are one of those people.
Thank you.
Thank you for the invite.
Thank you. Ladies and gents, that is all from me and Unathi. Please share your thoughts in the comment section. We'd like to know what you thought about the episode. Signing out on episode 3, it is your sizzling host, Babi Mawela. See you next time.